Obviously, the world is changing and it's shedding its old ways of working, its unhealthy and wasteful practices. It is become something that we could never have expected. Luckily, we're all in this together, and we're all sort of being reborn because of this. Now, for a lot of people, they're really latching onto their old way of living, their old identities of how things were and what they really wanted to do and the people that they wanted to be around and the things they were going to accomplish. And they feel like their identity is dying, and they see these things and there's just this weight that falls upon them, just pulling at them. And they see these things and they get sad, or they hear or think about the people in their life and they just feel like everything's collapsing. And I want to say that's just kind of maybe because it is. And I don't want to be all dramatic about it. It's just that an end is actually a new beginning, and we have to change our dialogue on what's happening. So if there are things that are around you that are really tied to this old way of being, I believe it's advantageous to cut these things, burn them off, break up with them, dump them, just get them out of your life as soon as possible. Because for the past few weeks, I've been decluttering my life, and I noticed that some things that I had in my house were attached to things in my life that I wasn't able to get rid of. They were just these sticking points that I couldn't let go of. And I realized that these things are just kind of holding these dreams or these parts of me in place and not letting me go. I was very, very stuck, and I couldn't get rid of the thing or the idea. And if I were to hold on to either of those, it would be like an uphill battle with probably not even a likely reward at the end. Alas, I actually broke through and I got rid of them, and I feel really proud because it was a lot of work, and I want to share my mental framework for how I broke through. So first thing you want to do is take note of the life you want to be living moving forward in this new, strange, weird world. And within that, you want to focus on what is the most important ways of being for this life, not necessarily the ways of living. That would be something completely different. We don't want to focus on ways of living because that's beyond our control. What we can control is ourselves and the way we see things. So we want to focus on how do we want to be as people, as a person, moving forward, and what can we control. Anything that is beyond our control, we have to put to the sides and just focus on what we can look at and determine and control to the best of our abilities. We're always going to be incomplete, and it's perfectly normal. In fact, it's actually desired. We always want to have more road to drive along. We want to find out what's around the next corner. The unknown is actually quite exciting as long as you look at it in the right light. If there were a cliff and that's the end and you knew exactly what's going to happen, that's not great. We want to have an opportunity, and there could be danger or it could be safe. And that mystery is exciting. If we were just be going on a go-kart on a desert straight forever, that would be boring. This is life. There's ups and downs, and there's positives and negatives. That's what makes it so great. We have to take the positives with the negatives. That being said, before all of this, you might have had dreams and maybe this map of where you wanted to go and where you wanted to travel, and all of a sudden now there are roadblocks. We have to go new ways, and you can no longer go this way. We have to identify what are these dreams. And if you had this item, say this map that is saying going this way and this is where you want to be your destination, but you can no longer do that because the world has changed. There are new roadblocks. We have to identify these items and prevent them from weighing us down. If they're in your backpack and they're not going to be used, we have to toss them. We have to look at the items. These things can be books. They can be education for skills that just are irrelevant at the time. You maybe want to pick up snowboarding or something, but this just doesn't make sense at this point. There are far more important things: education, new skills, relationships. Maybe that book on snowboarding doesn't matter right now. Now, this may take a little while, but you have to figure out it's not just the thing, it's also where that thing came from. What was its source? We have to look at the items that are tied to these dreams. Take note of their purpose. What was the reason that you wanted to accomplish? What was the purpose of getting this item? Does this item still even make sense now that everything has changed? Have you found something more important to? Has the value of this item for you personally dropped? Not a financial value. If so, if it's the same and you're like, oh, this is valuable, then you should sell it and get that money. It's important because it might be important for somebody else's survival. But for your own personal well-being and direction, does it still hold the same amount of importance as it did before? Lastly, do you still feel that love for it? Does it really excite you and get you out of bed early in the morning? If not, maybe that's an item that you can let go. There are probably a lot of things. I admit that I had many, many things that I was just still holding on to, not because they were bad items or they were large or anything, but they carried some sort of identity to a self that I wanted to be, or a direction or goal that I wanted to have. And now they no longer fit my new self. I've become something else, and new dreams, a new path, and a new road that I'm taking. Anchor or propeller? Are these things anchors or propellers? Now, are these things making you feel alive? Are they pushing you towards your goal and directing you down the right paths, the paths that are available? Are they just weighing you down, pulling at you, and just feeling like they're getting heavier and heavier, and you keep sinking below, and you're just trying to tread water and you can barely breathe? You're getting tired, and you're going to get more and more tired because we don't have the, energy to keep our head above water with all this stuff. We have to drop some weight so that we can get to land and rest. And the only way that we're going to survive this is to drop a lot of that weight. And that weight is old dreams, old things, everything that cannot help us right now. We have to let go of our old self. Now, I get it. It's going to be very, very difficult. You're going to have some really trying times. You're going to be pacing. You're going to look at an item and you'll be like, I don't know, but I loved it. And, maybe something stupid as like a cardigan. You want to relax and, have a beer, and you're just like, I love this idea of this thing. Well, that's not the new way of being. And just because you like it doesn't mean it's necessary. Go through whatever emotional ways of dealing with these things. But part of you is dying, and these weights are just going to hold on and kill the rest of you. We want to be reborn. We want some embers to re-emerge from. Regeneration. And in the end, you can just look at them as old versions of you. There are past versions of you. Think about it as they're past the expiration date, and they're now rotten and stinky, and it's ruining everything around it. You got to get rid of it. Throw that crap out. Lastly, you got to go for a walk. You got to go for a drive, meditate, make some music, create whatever gets you into that zone state, that Zen type being where you're detached and you have your epiphanies, a long shower, hot tub, sauna, whatever you do, video games or whatever. You've got to figure out what you want to be reborn into. You have to find what kind of new self do you want to be? What new destination do you want to try for? You may not get there. You might find another roadblock. But, you get another roadblock and you'll also already have the practice of discarding this one thing. And get to this, you'll be like, oh, well, I guess now this doesn't help. And you get that one thing. So you just get lighter and lighter, and you're going to find a new place. But it's up to you to give a general sense of direction. We need to kind of give ourselves something so we're not just going in circles and being dictated by the world that is completely uncontrollable. And the best way you can control tomorrow is plan for it today. But for me, the future is far more exciting than the past. I look at the past and these things in this old way and these old dreams, and I'm bored, I'm stressed by it. But I think about the new self, the new way I could be, and I get excited. And decluttering gives me that presence so I can realize the actuality of this situation that I'm in, and I can plan a new future. It's actually quite exciting, and I get pretty happy when I think about it this way. The future is a promise for the sacrifices that we make today. Now, when you think about the future, what it is, it's like a promise to give you in return for the sacrifices that you make right now, the sacrifices that you make today to give you this other future. And if you don't make those sacrifices now, that future changes and gets pushed and pushed and pushed. Whatever we do in the moment and stay in our mindful state, that's going to dictate what comes our way in the future. When we're looking at the past, we can still look at it and use that as wisdom, that insight that helps us determine our best course of action and the way of being in the present moment. So the past isn't wasteful either. It's a good thing to add to our thinking and our relationship with the moment. Staying in the present moment is the most important thing you can do in stressful times. And in decluttering, it just makes it a lot easier. So I know it sounds really heavy and serious, but sometimes things are just holding you up and you can't let go. And you don't know why, and it is a big deal, but it isn't a big deal. It's just a thing. But also, there's something in you that's making you not able to let go, and you gotta let go. And because you can't let go, that's a bigger reason that you might want to do that. I mean, we're living in really uncertain times, and I believe minimalism is a really major component that can help us feel free. And freedom is something that I believe is the most important thing to have. I value my freedom higher than anything that I own. And these things are taking away from my personal freedom. That's my opinion. And that's why I make these videos, because I want other people to feel as free as I'm feeling. And anytime I go through something that lifts my spirits, I want to share that with you. And I get serious about it because I feel a serious result. I feel a serious happiness after I let go. Now, it's important to recognize that you have the power of how you see the world. You know, you can look into the past and harp onto negative moments and your depression and all these things that are horrible. Or you can look at ways that you can take this situation and cull down and make it work for you right now. It may not be the best, but you also might be able to find new ways of supporting people and, you know, making the world better because it's so irregular, but you can still control and make people happy. There's a lot of good that can still happen from this. You just got to make a decision. Where do you want to focus? How do you want your life to be? And lastly, I want to echo what I was saying before. We just can't control the world. We can try to do our best to evolve it and tweak it and everything, but we actually don't have control. We just do our best. We try to support the people. We try to move things along, but it's not ultimately up to us. There's bigger forces at work here. We can just do our best. And I feel like as a whole, if everyone takes care of themselves and takes care of each other, we can all rise together, and that's what makes the world a better place. It's the people, it's not the things that are happening necessarily. Things may get worse, things may get better, but if we just focus on the things that we can control, I believe that it's going to be the change that we all need. And I want to quote Gandhi. The last thing is be the change. It's a quote that I feel like is more important now than ever has been before. We just have to focus on ourselves and the things that we can control. Help everybody else, support everything that's going on. I hope you guys all do well. Let go of your baggage. If you want more minimalism talks, check out my other videos. And if you have other questions for me about anything, put them in the comments. And until next time, peace.